Hello, I am here to recap this week Days of Our Lives from September 22nd to the 26th. So the main thing that happened this week was that John woke up finally from his coma. Christian's drug worked and boom, we have a deal. Eric tells the DA that he will not be testifying, which gets Nicole very mad, and she's very, Kristen revenge happy, but of course she is using alcohol to deal with everything, and it always ends up awkward. Eric also suspects that Teresa does not want John to wake up because that would mean that she would have no chance with Brady. And so now Daniel, Kristen, Marlena, and Eric are all suspicious of Teresa. And next week, John may remember or not remember what exactly happened that night. Brady goes to Kristen's earlier on in the week and yells at her to tell her the drug is not working, and you're a liar and you screwed up everything and all you wanted was to make me mad and to give me hope and then crush it, because you're evil. She says that she wants him to know the truth, which she never really gets to tell him because he gets the text saying that John is waking up. Daniel gets the text while he's talking with Teresa, who is fooling absolutely nobody. He says, you got this nonchalant thing going on, which is as believable as a UFO story. So John squeezes Marlena's hand, and they can tell that he's starting to wake up, but it's going to take a while. And later in the week, Brady is with his father, and he's talking to him, and then suddenly John opens his eyes and says, son. And Brady's like, oh my god, Dick! Oh, it was so touching. And he calls Marlena Doc, which means he remembers who she is, and it's just really great for everybody in the family. So as of right now, he remembers the day he got back to Salem, which is the day he went over to Brady's apartment, and he found that he and Teresa were getting physical, and he kind of interrupted that. It was March 4th of this year, specifically. And so, yeah, Brady was still involved with Teresa and all that stuff. That's not to say that his memory of the last 5 months won't come back, but as of right now, that's all we got. Teresa desperately sneaks in with a syringe, but of course that doesn't work at all. So Stefano DiMera calls 2 of his children this week. His first one is to Kristen, and, he's telling her, that she's kind of crazy for wanting to get Brady back, but he's happy that she is now in the clear with Eric. He reminds her not to make the mistake again by sending her a picture of Susan, which is foreshadowing because Susan is going to return. Stefano also calls Chad to confirm that Chad is playing Kate in the whole corporate takeover picking sides thing. Kate is suspicious of this by the end of the week because he tells her about his conversation with his father. Kate doesn't really know if she's lying to Kate or if he's lying to Stefano. My money is he's lying to Kate because Stefano has been, his mentor for the past year. Kristen tries to convince Chad to be on her side, which means against EJ. She says EJ is a lying bastard who turned his back on his family, so she gives Chad some wisdom to settle some scores. And the advice is to not let them see you coming. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, which Chad puts into action later when he apologizes to Abigail. And if you notice, when Casey Diedrich was in the role, he always called her Abigail. But this new Chad is calling her Abby, which is kind of paralleling how Sammy always called her Abby when she was, belittling her and putting her down. She would always say little Abby. And now that Chad is using that, we can kind of see that they're kind of manipulating her in the same kind of way. Ben doesn't actually buy his apology, although Abigail's pretty convinced. They kind of argue about the money, but, that doesn't really lead to a big fight. Chad actually meets Clyde this week, which is really funny. They were both playing it really cool. Abigail and Ben try to have a little makeout session this week. However, they can't really go anywhere other than, public spaces and that bench that they're so fond of because, Abigail lives at home and Ben is renting this place. It's not very private. So he tries to book a hotel room, but it is far too out of his price range. Sorry, guys. Speaking of things happening, EJami make love this week. Finally! So before they actually get into it, EJ needs to hear her say those words that she loves him and that she's giving him her heart and soul and she trusts him and she wants to be with him. And EJ says, I know you trust me with your body, but I want your heart, which is a really common theme in all of EJami lines and dialogue. They enjoy a marvelous reunion, and it culminates in the renewal of their vows when EJ proposes again. He gives her a new ring, and it's huge! But the vows are really sweet, you know. They talk about when they met, and they talk about how far they've come. EJ vows that he will always give her a spoon when she needs to stir up trouble. He will give her a shoulder when she needs comfort and love. He wants to put on the table every horrible thing that they've done to each other and agree that that's part of who they are and we can move past it. And to really emphasize this, the kids come back from camp this week, which is like, finally, I mean, it's like the end of September. Obviously, they've missed some school. They have awesome family moments, and everybody's happy, everybody's together again. While they were renewing their vows, EJ mentioned the letter that Sammy had wrote him, and he actually took it out when she was in prison, and, you know, they repeated a lot of the same stuff that she said in there, you know, like how she breathes with him every night and she listens to his heartbeat to calm her down. And this is something that I actually recorded and put on my Tumblr, so if you want to listen to it again, I'll put the link down there. It's so romantic, it's really good. Kate is saying, Sammy, he is manipulating you. He will say whatever he wants to get back his money and his power. Lucas agrees with this, but Sammy's not buying it. Speaking of Kate, she and Clyde have that dinner. Clyde shaved his beard. He was like unrecognizable, clean shaven. It was crazy. He says something along the lines of, well, my mission is to seduce you. Now, of course, he didn't mean this in a sexual way, but, you know, those words are very suggestive. But what he meant was that he wants to seduce her into a partnership or a close alliance, sort of. As far as young Salem goes this week, Paige is extremely suspicious of Mary Beth. She takes her phone to look at any pictures that are on her phone. Eve tells her that Mary Beth told her about the pictures that JJ sent to her, and, you know, she's trying to really push the thing that, you know, JJ's bad news, but Paige is like, no, he loves me, it was just a misunderstanding, which is really kind of naive, but they're in love, and it's actually true, so it's okay that she believes it. Eve wants to come up with a new plan, and I think she's going to change her target from Paige to JJ. Really sad and emotional scene this week. Hope tells Caroline that she has lost faith in Beau and that she is filing for divorce. At first, Caroline says, Hope you'll always be my daughter, and I understand. It must be very frustrating. I don't know what my son is doing, but I support you in this whatever. However, then Aiden shows up, and he's like, oh, Hope, are we still set for our date tomorrow? And Hope's like, you just said we had a date in the Brady Pub. What is wrong with you? Seriously, bad move, Aiden. It's called the Brady Pub. I mean, really? Did you not make that connection? Caroline actually gets really upset at this. She says, oh, so you just want a divorce so you can go out with Aiden? You know? And so Caroline says, I'm sorry, but I can't support you on this anymore. Sunny is very skeptical about Chad. It's clear that Sunny is on Ben's side in this. Since Chad is kind of acting weird since he's been back in Salem. Will also talks to this week about writing the article. Will says that if he doesn't write the article, someone else will, and at that point somebody else probably wouldn't protect him as much, blah blah blah. We've heard the same thing over and over again, and Chad says, hey, it's up to you. I will think about it and get back to you. But then he has words with EJ as EJ threatens him about, you know, Sammy. And then he says, fine, I'll do the article, as a kind of like punch in the face for EJ. Abigail is also not forgiving Will for what he did about the article, and that's kind of really ridiculous because, I mean, hello, Abigail, you are not the one who should be throwing stones about not forgiving people. People have been forgiving you and giving you second chances because they know you, and so why aren't you doing that with your cousin who wrote an article, whereas you slept with a married man and ruined a marriage, or almost did? Whatever, Abigail's just ridiculous on all accounts in this fairy tale land she has with Ben. Speaking of flirtatiousness, Chad was flirting with Jordan at the end of the week, trying to make her feel better by pretending that he had hurt arm, buying her some tea. Now, Rafe warns that he is a Demera, but of course Jordan does not want to listen to anything Rafe says, and she is very emotional because Rafe keeps poking his nose in her business, and her father is still a constant threat looming over her shoulder. But maybe she will find solace in Chad. We will see exactly what Chad's plan is next week on Days. Bye!